right. We're going to get on into it here. Um, hope everybody's been doing well and hope everything's been going great for with everybody. We're just gonna dig in, and like Kevin said, we're gonna talk about Ableton live in session mode, session view rather. So I'm gonna open up a brand new session here, and while I do that, like he said, we're going to be giving away a free copy of Ableton Live during this webinar, and we're also going to be giving away some codes for you to be able to get Ableton Live Intro for only 49 bucks. That's only $49 that you'll be able to get it for, just for attending. Just our way of saying thank you for attending the webinar. And we're also going to be giving out some codes for some free multi-tracks. So you'll be able to actually go on our site and download a free track just because you came and connected with us during this webinar. So we're just excited about connecting with you guys. So feel free to introduce yourself inside of the chat. Type it on in the box, and we're looking forward to interacting with you. We ask if there's any questions that you have, please put them in the box. Please put them in the box as we go through, and we'll try to get to them and answer them. Probably more so on the tail end of things, as we're going to answer the questions. We're going to kind of go through how to set things up, how to do things, and then we'll answer questions on the back end. All right, so let's jump on into it here, and we're going to, like I said, I have a live session here. Can you guys hear me out there pretty good, Justin and them? It sounds like I'm hearing some feedback.
Yeah, I hear a little bit of feedback, but it's clearing up. It's
clearing up.
Yeah.
Kevin, can you hear it pretty good on your end, or?
Yeah, same thing here. A little scratchy feedback, but you okay now?
It's better now?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know what happened. May have had an electrical interference or something like that, but yeah, it happens when you're doing stuff live. But anyway, okay, so let's kind of jump into it, and hopefully it won't get too bad here. But we'll dig on into it here. All right, so we have the here when you open up Live, when you open up Ableton. This is pretty much the view that you get when you first open it up, and this is, like I said, geared more towards the beginners, those who may not know anything about Ableton. There may be some people watching this. I'm pretty sure there's some people that's watching this. There's some seasoned Ableton vets, and we kind of ask you to, kind of not be too hard on the newbies and stuff, because we're gearing this more so towards those who may not even have a Ableton, at this point in time, and they're interested in it and seeing what it can do and how it can help their ministries. And because it's definitely an enhancement, and that's one of the things I want to kind of point out, that Ableton and using stems and using click tracks and things like that in church services is not the devil, as they say. Using technology in ministry is a growing trend, and it's getting more and more popular among gospel musicians and just among church musicians, altogether. So to the point where now even some churches, before you even become a musician for their church or become a part of their staff, they're asking that you know how to use Ableton or how to run tracks or how to play to backing tracks. I think I saw an ad for a musician back about a week or so ago, and that was the key point. They wanted to know, can you play to a backing track? Can you play to a click track? Can you, run Ableton? Those were stipulations right alongside, can you play hymns? Can you back up the preacher? Those are different things like that are becoming the norm. So it's just kind of something that you want to try to dig into and learn. It kind of warrants you as a musician to kind of dig in there. But I'm going to get off my soapbox here and stop preaching about it, and we're going to talk about Ableton and really get into what this program can do. And we're going to be talking about session view primarily in this webinar. In our last webinar, we talked a lot, for those of you who were with us, they know, we talked a lot about arrangement mode. And we set up a whole live set, for church service inside of arrangement mode. And now we're going to kind of continue with it and show how to do the same thing inside session mode, because the two modes kind of differ. Now, this is session mode we're looking at now, but this is arrangement mode, what we talked about the last time. And you can get back and forth between each mode just by pressing the tab key. So if you press the tab key on your computer, then it will switch back and forth between session mode and arrangement mode, or arrangement view, or session view, whichever one you want to call it. Now let's just go over the interface, the overall interface of Ableton and how it looks. Now, as you see here, when you open it up, you get a set of MIDI tracks and you get a set of audio tracks. You get a couple of return tracks, is what they call. And this over here is the master scene section. The master scene section. So it's kind of like, because in arrangement mode, everything kind of goes horizontal. It goes from left to right, more linear, as most people say. It's kind of a horizontal view. You can kind of see, oh, my chorus is here, my vamp is here, my bridge is here, so on and so forth. But in session mode, it kind of goes vertical instead of horizontal. So this section would be like your intro, your chorus, your verse 2, your bridge, so on and so forth. And you would actually launch what they call a set of clips, or audio clips, kind of like that, but they call them clips. You would launch a set of clips just by pressing the button in this section. I don't have anything loaded, so nothing will play when I press each button. But this would be how you would launch, say, a section of the song, or even I know a lot of people who use it to run click tracks. You can set up a set of click tracks right here for song 1, song 2, song 3, so on and so forth, and launch those click tracks for this song here, that song there, so on and so forth, to kind of keep the flow going inside a service. So this is the master scene section, all of the different parts of your song, and then here's where the clips go, the actual sections of the actual audio file. So you may have a bass track right here, you may have a key track right here, and you may have some more audio tracks with like guitars or piano or whatever the case may be, and you would have those clips for that respective section right there. Now below this you have what we call the routing section, with your where you run your ends, like say from your interface. If you have an audio interface, something that you connect to your computer to be able to route audio in and out, you could run your input. Say if you want to create a talkback mic, and your mic is plugged into channel 2 on your interface. Well, you could run you can create a talkback mic and say, I want the audio to come from my mic into this particular channel. And below this, you have your master audio 2 section, which controls where your audio is going to. Is it going to a headphone mix? Is it going to sends? Is it going to the master track? Below that, you have your sends, which controls what audio goes where. Like if I turn this up, the audio would actually come from this channel to the reverb, where it says reverb. And if I turn this up, audio would come from here, and it would start to flow through this channel here. So that's pretty much like the interface. And down here you have your volume, and you have your mute, and your pan, and your solo, and record. And that probably won't mean much to you if you're using it just for running tracks live, record, unless you just want to record your performance for some reason. Now that's pretty much the lay of this, and down here you have your clip inspection area. This is where you will manipulate your audio files and do different things like that. And you'll kind of see this pop up and populate as we kind of go through setting up a track or what have you. So that's pretty much the overall interface of that. Oh, you got your play and your stop buttons up here. You got your, and I know Google kind of puts the logo sometimes up here. I'm going to move this down a little bit. You have like your tap tempo and your BPM, and you have your time signature and your metronome, and then your what they call your quantization menu, which determines how fast you want it to switch. Do you want it to switch to a section within a bar, 2 bars, so on and so forth? And you'll see that as we kind of go through, and you'll see how that kind of falls into place. But that's pretty much the lay of how everything works inside of session mode, inside of Ableton when you load it up. All right. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to show you how to set up a set of stems that I've gotten from our site, and we're going to set them up here inside of session mode. But what we're going to do first is we're going to start in arrangement mode, and we're going to move them to session mode. So I'm going to show you how this works. So what I'm going to do first, when I open up a session, what I like to do is go ahead and delete my MIDI tracks and delete all but one audio track. I'm going to delete my sends for right now, but I'm going to bring them back in later when I get ready to create my headphone mix, and you'll see that. All right, so what I'm going to do here, I got a blank session, and I'm going to go to arrangement mode now. And you're going to see why in just a second, how you can bring in a set of stems from arrangement mode and set them up inside of clip mode or clip view or what have you, or session view. So I'm going to select, this is a song we have from our site. It is Love You Forever. And when you download a track from our site, you get a folder like this with all of the files in it. It'll probably look something more. Like this, with your acoustic guitar, your bass, your click, your cues, your drums, all of those different things like that. And so I'm gonna go back here to Love You Forever because this is gonna be the one we're gonna work with. And I'm gonna go down here and I'm gonna select all of these files. If my computer doesn't, I got a lot going on. We got video streaming and Ableton open, so if I get a couple of stalls here, that's why. All right, let's get these selected. I'm going to hold down Shift and select all of these files. That's what I'm going to do. There we go. All right, so got them selected, and I'm going to click. And while I'm holding down and moving the files over into arrangement mode, I'm going to hold down the Command key on my computer, or Control if you're on PC. And once I get those in here, I'm going to drop them, and they load all the stems in here. Now, just with that, with the songs on our site, you can actually just press play. You wouldn't have to, if you just wanted to play to them and not have to go through all the setup, you can actually just press play from here and check it out.
Intro 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, so you could actually just play to them just like that if you wanted to. But for our tutorial, we're not going to do that here. We're going to go ahead and set our BPM, which is 99, and it was on the folder. So we have that set. And what you would do then is I'm going to collapse these audio files by pressing this little triangle here. And it collapses these, the view, so I can kind of see all of my files in this section. So ideally, what you would want to do from here is name your tracks for, like, organization purposes. You would hit your audio 1 and you would name it to correspond with what file is there. So I'm going to call this aux by pressing Command R, or clicking here, pressing Command R, and I'm going to name this aux. And you would go down and you would name all of your files, bass, so on and so forth. This is the click. And what that does is it actually helps you set things up in session mode, because if I go over to session mode, you can see what I named it in arrangement mode. Now it's showing in session mode, aux and bass and click, and ideally all of your files would show up right there. All of your track names would show up right there. All right, so now you got all of that. Once you went and named all of that and set all that up, the next thing you're going to want to do is set locators for each section, like your intro, your verse, your chorus, your bridge, all those different things like that. And we covered that majorly inside of the last webinar, how to set up things inside of arrangement mode. And we have another video on our YouTube channel you guys can go check out. It's on the Gospel Multitracks channel. You can check that out. It shows you how to set up stems inside of arrangement mode, because I'm going to set up a couple of locators here to show you the concept, but then I'm going to open up a session that I've already got everything set up to kind of expedite our time here. But what you would want to do is grab your loop brace and set it at the place that you want. So what I like to do is grab my cues as my guide to kind of show me where things are coming, because the cues tell me things like verse 2, 3, 4, chorus 2, 3, 4, bridge, whatever the case may be. So it's telling me where everything's coming in. But of course, at bar 1, you're going to have your intro. So we'll go over here to this verse, this section right here where it says set, and we'll click on set, and it adds a little flag right here. And I know it may be hard to see depending on your internet connection and how YouTube is doing things. We'll try to zoom in here. And you click on that little flag, Command or Control R, and put intro. So that lets you know that that's the intro part of the song. Then you may want to move over here to where the verse comes in. 2, 3, 4. Verse 2, 3, 4. So the verse comes in at 11. So you move this loop brace to 11, and you hit the set button again and rename it to verse. And you would do the same thing for, this would be the chorus. I would move over here.
Chorus 2, 3, 4.
I would go here and hit my set, and I would name this chorus. So ideally, you would do this for every part of your song. You will go out and lay out all of the parts of the songs that you want to repeat. So what I'm going to do now is switch to my session that I already have open, that I have already set up, rather, with everything. So I'm going to close this, and we're going to open up the session where I've already laid out my verse and chorus and vamp. So I have all of my parts of my song laid out. I have laid them out. And now I want to take this arrangement of this set of stems, and I want to move it from arrangement mode to session mode. And that can be done very easily. So what we're going to do here, we're going to zoom in, of course, using this little section up here. If you move your mouse up here to this little overview section, you can zoom in and out just by dragging your mouse across it. And we want to zoom it out to where we can kind of see the bars, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so on and so forth. And what you're going to do is click down here in an empty space and drag and select all of the section between intro and verse. And it may be hard to see, like I said, depending on your internet connection and how YouTube is doing it. But you can select that whole section between intro and verse, and then you're going to press, if you're on Mac, press Command E. If you're on PC, press Control E. And what it does is it splits all of the files right there and creates a set of clips out of that section. So we'll do the same thing here for the verse to the chorus. Select all the way, Command E, and now I've split that section. Then my chorus here, and let me zoom out so I can get some more room here. Chorus 1, we'll select all of those, Command E, and I like to click on this little line here that the locator makes. It makes it kind of easy to keep it locked in, and just drag it over to the next locator. See there? And then Command E, same thing, Command E. We're just separating all of our sections. Moving it over here, Command E. Now we got this big section of the vamp. Select that, Command E. And now we've done everything. We've split up all of our sections of the song into clips. And if you look at it, it kind of mirrors what you would see in session mode. You can kind of see how it would lay out inside of session mode in the horizontal view if you kind of look at it. So what I'm going to do is click here on this first clip, because you can see Ableton designates it now as a clip. You click on where it says aux 2 and bring it on down, and then I'm going to move my mouse over here to keys, hold down the shift key, and click, and it selects everything in that section. Then this is how we're going to move it over to session view. click on aux again, or click anywhere for that matter on any file, and that's any section, and press the tab key, and it brings it over here to session view, and then I just drop it there. Now I'm going to go to my video here of my view of my APC, and as you can see, my APC has now lit up to correspond with the particular sections of the song. So it looks just like it does here on the computer. Everything is lined up, all of my clips for all of my sections. And so this section right here on my APC, all down right here, mimics my master scene section right here inside of the software. So if I press this button, this first button here on my APC, it automatically launches the set of clips in this row right here. So watch what happens when I press this button. So it starts that section. Now, if I want to move to the next section of the song, which would be the verse, I press the button, and it jumps there within 4 counts. So watch this. 1, 2, well, it jumps on the 4. It jumps at the top of that measure. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, you see what I'm saying? 1. It's always going to move on the 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm at different sections. And as you can see, there's no lag. So once you've moved everything over to session mode, the next thing you're going to want to do is label your section. So of course we know section 1 over here is going to be your intro. So I'm going to press Command R, and I'm going to type in, try it again. I'm going to type in intro. Then I'm going to go here, press Command R, and we know this is the verse. Let's make sure. Yep. So we know it's the verse. We press R here, and we name this as chorus 1. Right over here is going to be verse 2, just thinking about the section, how the song flows, followed by chorus 2. And then we know the bridge comes after that. Oh, I messed that up. Bridge. And then we're going to go here, vamp. And then lastly, the outro. And now we have all of the sections of our song laid out. Intro. Verse. Chorus. Verse. So on and so forth. So you could do everything from this section without having to do any more programming. You could work it just like this, just using your APC or any controller for that matter, because you can map any, not even if you don't have a controller, you can even map the keys on your keyboard, on your computer keyboard. So you could use MIDI to map anything using any controller you have, or you can just by pressing the MIDI button, or you can map the keys on your keyboard just by pressing the key button up here, and then I can make this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, just like that. So now when I press the keys on my computer keyboard, like 1, it launches the intro. 2 does the verse. 3 does the chorus, so on and so forth, just like that. So once you set that up, you can easily control it and work the sections of the song just like that, just using that, or like I said, using your something like an APC. You know, play the intro and go through that. Then when you get ready for the verse, you press that and go into it. All right, so you can work it from that standpoint, or you can kind of make things a little bit more simpler. And I like to try to limit my interaction with the computer while I'm playing. I don't, there's always so much stuff going on during a service. I mean, you got a praise team leader or a choir director that's trying to give you cues on what's going on with the song, trying to sing it through the song. You may have another band member. You're trying to direct the drummer. You're trying to get the bass player, his parts to the song. There's always 50 different things going on at any particular time during a church service. So the last thing you want to add to that is trying to fool with your computer. So I like to set up things in a way to keep me from having to have so much interaction with the computer within service. And I'm going to show you a few settings. So first of all, let's show you how this works. So if I press intro, start the intro, and we'll let it play through. Watch what happens when it gets to the end of the intro section. So as you see it, once it got to the end, it just completely stopped. And that's, okay. Like I said, you can use it like that if that works for you. You can press, keep pressing the sections. Once it gets to the end of the intro, I can do it like this. And watch what happens when I get to the end. And I'm going to pull up my APC so you can see what I'm doing. But I have to press it like I did before it happens. And then it'll go to the next section. And that's, like I said, that's well and fine, but let's see if we can make it a whole lot easier. So what I'm going to do is here, I'm going to click here where it says aux. And I'm going to move over here to where it says keys. Hold down the shift key. The shift key is your friend. The tab key is your friend. The command key is your friend inside of Ableton. You're going to be using it a whole lot. But anyway, hit the shift key and click keys. And what that does is selects all of these particular tracks. And I'm going to bring up my clip inspector here. And so it tells me that I have 7 clips. And like I said, it may be hard for you to see depending on how your computer is set up or your phone or whatever the case may be. But it shows me that I have 7 clips selected. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All of these are selected. And this part that's very important is the part here that says launch, which is your launch mode or what have you. And by default, it may be hidden. But you can make it, because it may look like this, but you can bring it back out or show it just by pressing this little L if you don't see it. So it's a little L right here. It's hard, I know it may be hard to see, but if you're looking at it on the screen, you can see it. Click that L to show that part, all right? And the part that's important is this section down here, and it may be hard to read, but it says follow action, follow action. And that's basically telling Live or Ableton what to do once it gets to the end of a section. All right. So to do this, this first section right here is basically setting how many measures is in that section. You can have it do less measures, or you can have it do the full range of measures. It's always good to do the full range of measures that's in that section. So to find that out, we need to go back to arrangement mode and look at our intro, for instance. And let's zoom in, and we see the intro starts at 1 and it ends at 11. So that's 10 measures. So we got that. We go back to session view, and we go down here to where right under where it says follow action, double click in this little box and type in 10. All right. And then there's a little arrow right below that we're going to click that gives us another set of options. There's no action, there's stop, there's play again, there's previous, next, and then there's a bunch of other ones that really won't matter to you in our particular situation. The ones you want to be focused on are these first 4 really. All right. So what we're going to do is select play again. I like to do that for my intros because typically sometimes you can start a track before your praise team leader or your choir director or the choir itself is even ready. And they may be, trying to get to a mic, or they may be trying to pass a mic, or they may be trying to engage the people that are they're singing to, get them to lift their hands or get them to kind of, praise or engage in what you're doing. So I like to loop my intro and make it play again and set it to that, because you just never know if they're going to be ready or not, and then to kind of launch that. So now when I press the intro section, if you notice now these play icons are blinking, and it's letting you know that it's going to play those particular tracks again. So let's watch what happens. So it goes back to the top, right back to the top, and starts over again, as you can see. So I like to keep that for my intro. I always like to keep my intro on a loop and start that whenever the praise team leader or whoever is ready. That'll be pretty much my only other interaction, will be that and to stop it, and you're going to see why in a second. So now I'm going to click here where my verse starts. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go over here to the last clip in this section, which is the last set of keys. Hold down Shift and click to select them all. And we're going to figure out how many measures is the verse. So the verse starts here at 11, and it goes to 19. So that's 8 measures. So I'm going to click back and go down here and type in 8. Then we're going to change the follow action to next. So what happens is, when it gets to the end of the verse section, the end of those 8 measures, it's going to automatically go to the chorus without me having to touch anything. And I'll bring up my APC and I'll play it off of my APC and let you see what happens. So I'm going to press the verse section here. So as you can see, now this whole row of clips has started lighting up. And when it gets to the end of this, without me having to touch anything, it's going to automatically go to the verse. So without me having to do anything, it went over to the verse there. So now I'm going to do the same. I would do the same thing for my chorus. So for chorus 1, I go here, click, go down here, Shift, make sure those are selected. Go over here, look at chorus 1, 19 to 35. That's about 16 measures. Yep, 16 measures. Go down here, put a 16 in, follow action, next. And I would do this all the way through to my vamp, because now at our church, now your church may be a little bit different. You may, because everybody's church is different, you may flow a little bit more sporadically in your sets. They may decide, hey, we want to jump from the intro straight to the vamp. We're just going to go straight in. We're going to introduce the song, and we're going to go straight to the end, or we're going to go straight to the bridge, or whatever the case may be. And that's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. You can set your setup accordingly. At our particular church, in our ministry, we typically do the songs pretty much just like the record up until the vamp, or the some people call it, some genres call it the down chorus or chorus 2 or whatever the case may be. But we call it the vamp primarily in gospel music. So we pretty much flow all the way through the songs till we get to the vamp. And the vamp, we may stay at the vamp and repeat the vamp for like 15 minutes, but we'll work the song pretty much just like it is until there. So me personally, I like to set everything to just flow all the way down, without me having to touch it, go from section to section till I get to the vamp. And I always set the vamp just like I did with the intro. to repeat. And so that way, once it gets to the vamp, it just starts looping. And I still haven't had to touch anything once it gets down here. It's just flowed through the song automatically without me having to do anything. And then when I get ready to take the song out, I'll reach over to my APC and I'll hit the outro button and take the song out. So that limits my interaction. So now all I have to do is start the song, initiate the first verse or the first chorus or whatever is the first part of the song that's coming in after the intro, and then I don't have to touch or look at the computer again until I get to the vamp, until I get ready to do the outro, and I just press outro. So that's only 3 presses that I have to do on my APC in order to limit my interaction with that particular part of with the whole set of the stems or what have you. So anyway, that's pretty much how I set everything up inside of Ableton, inside of Session View, and how I run things in Session View. Now I'm going to do one more thing here, and then we're going to take some questions. I'm going to show you guys one more thing, and we're going to take some questions so you can kind of get those ready. So we're going to talk about, we had some questions come in about setting up a headphone mix. And this can be done very simply, and I'm going to show you what I like to do when I set up a headphone mix, because that's key for drummers, especially if you're working with a drummer or even yourself, to be able to hear where it's going, because that's typically detrimental in a live situation if you can kind of hear the rhythm and hear the click and hear the click track as you're going along with it. So I like to set up a headphone mix, and I'm going to show you the way that I like to set it up, and I'm going to explain why I set it up this way. What I like to do is create a couple of return tracks, and I'm going to go to create and insert return track, and I'm going to insert 2 of them. And what we're going to do here on return, where it says a return, we're going to rename it by pressing Command R or Control R if you're on PC. And we're just going to call this, for all intents and purposes, if that's how you say that, drummer. And we're going to name B to house. And that's what may go out to your sound system or whatever the case may be. Now, this is just a basic setup. Like I said, I know there's some guys that use Ableton pretty heavy, and they say, you got to have this and you got to have that, and you got to do this headphone mixer and blase 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 this and blase blase that. But you got to think, most people, the average guy, and I am the average guy. I am just a backwoods country church musician. I'm not on tour with Israel or Ty Tribbett, and I'm not, all like that. I'm just a regular old guy that plays for a regular old church back off in the country. It's not a mega ministry or anything like that. I'm just the average guy. And the average guy at the average church has the average church sound system. That's not a $50,000 sound system, and neither do they have the $800 or $900 ultimate ears for in-ear monitors and AVMs and all of those things like that. Just the average church guy just has a keyboard, a computer maybe, if they have a computer, but a computer interface and their amplifier, or maybe a direct box. So I try to give people simple setups that can kind of work for the average setup or what have you. So if you're working with like a 2-channel interface, or even if you don't have an interface, if you have like a splitter cable where you can split a stereo splitter cable where you can split the cable, split the signal 2 ways, left and right, then you want to get that. And I try to show that before we get off as well. I show that on our other camera. I have one here that I can show you guys what it looks like. But you can split it off into 2 sections. And left and right. So what you want to do with your return section here, where it says audio 2, change it to external out on both of them. What you're going to want to do is, right under it, there's another drop down box. Change that to 1. In the house mix, change that to 2. 1 is going to be your left mono out, and Your 2 is going to be your right output or what have you. So you would send left to, say, a mixer, personal mixer that you have for your drummer, or maybe to your amplifier, or whatever the case may be for your band mix. Then you would send 2 to a direct box or to another mixer that goes out to the house, or whatever means that you use to send it to the sound system so it plays out loud through the church loudspeakers, the church PA system, front of house, whatever you guys call it, the sound system. You want to go left to the house, left to the band, right to the house. All right, left to the band, right to the house. So you want to do that. So let's say let's set up a scenario. You're setting up a drummer mix, and your drummer says, in my ears, all I want to hear is the click track or the drum loop, and as we call it the click track a lot of times in gospel music. I want to hear a little bit of the click track and a little bass and some keys. I don't want all of the other stuff in my ears. So what you would do is just use your returns here, your return section, your sends, and you would send. He says, I want click track. So you would send him all of that. And he says, I want a little bit of bass. So you would send him just a little bit of bass, maybe halfway. And he says a little keys, and you do the same thing with the keys over here. Just send that over there. And so now if I go straight here into the vamp, bring it down, bring the start down a little bit. And if I solo the drummer mix, all you hear in there is the click track, and it's probably coming out the left side. If you're listening on your speakers, you're probably hearing it out the left more than you are anything else. And I can bring these keys up if you want some more keys. That's all that's coming out of that side, right? That's all he wants to hear. So you would do the same thing with your house mix. You could easily go over here and click on aux, then go over here to keys, hold down that famous shift button and click it, and then go here to sends B and move all of them up to send them to the house. So now when I press the vamp and solo house mix, that's everything. And that's going out to your sound system, to your front of house, to whatever, whoever's doing sound or what have you, gives them a mix that they can work with and control the overall level and mix it in with live vocals and live keys and everything. All right. So that is a simple way to set up a headphone mix. Like I said, just a basic way. And I know some guys say, hey, you know, why don't you just, if you're gonna do that, why don't you just pan hard left and pan hard right? And that's okay. But this method gives you a little bit more control, gives you a gain stage, so you can actually, instead of having to go here and turn up the click track, if the drummer says, I just need more volume in my headphone mix, instead of having to go here and turn everything turn everything else up that affects the whole mix, you can just go simply over here to his headphone mix and turn it up or turn it down or whatever the case may be. Same thing with the house. If the front of house guy or the sound guy says, hey, give me a little bit more of your track, you can, or bring your track down, you can easily go over here without having to go over here and fool with all of your pan knobs and fool with your volumes and trying to mix everything. You just got two mix. And I learned that from the little things that I do know about mixing, you know, just mixing tracks. Whenever you're doing something inside of a DAW, period, when you're mixing a track or mastering or, you know, just working in the studio, working on production, you want to utilize your bus, your auxiliary. Every software calls it something different. Some say bus, some say aux. In Ableton here is called a return, but you want to utilize those return tracks whenever you're trying to send audio to something, whether it's a reverb or a delay, or if you're just trying to send route audio in some kind of specific way to something. I just learned and I borrowed that concept from mixing. I like to use my aux tracks instead of trying to do crazy stuff with panning. All right. One more thing, and then we're going to get to some of these questions that we may have. There's a setting here inside of preferences called auto warp long samples. If you're just getting Ableton you want to go in. The first thing you want to do is turn this off. This setting what it does is it automatically warps some things, warps the files as you bring them in to Ableton. And we get a lot of emails, maybe once a week or so, from somebody who hasn't turned this setting off, and they drag their tracks in, and they're like, man, the bass is off, the guitar is off, the such and such is off, and what's wrong, and why, it sounds good on your video, and it worked good on your video, but then when I tried to drag it in, it didn't work. Well, the first thing we tell them is go in and turn in auto warp samples and turn it off, and it, helps them out. It solves that problem for them, rather. All right. So that's just with that. So that's all I wanted to kind of show you guys with that. And I guess we're going to look at and see what kind of questions we got. JD, KJ, or Elip, what we got on the questions end of things that you guys been paying attention.
Well, it's a lot of questions. I'm trying to figure out where to start.
Okay, I'm gonna try to get over here to the questions with you guys.
Yeah, there were a lot of questions asked as you were explaining. So
Let's see.
well, I guess if you read them, they will make more sense to you as you were going through it. I got one that says, this is from KM. Do any multi-tracks come already split up in sections or always the full song?
They come split up in sections. With that particular question, that we sell them all in a whole pack, and we do that right now in that way because you never know what somebody's situation is going to be in their setting. They may have a 3-piece band and all they need is the aux stuff, or they may have a 2-piece band and need everything but the drums and the keys. Then they may have an organ player and a keyboard player and no drummer. So rather than trying to break things up and do things separate, we decided to do things and sell them all as a whole, put everything in the pack. So you get an entire download pack with everything in it. And you can pick and choose what parts you need, whether it's the bass or the organ or the click track or whatever the case may be. But you can also use that in Prime Mix. You can buy what we call the split track off of the site. And if you use an iPad, you can pull it up an iPad and you can easily mute the sections that you don't need. If that kind of hopefully answers a question that you might have. But we got some other things coming down the line. I'm not going to spoil it, but just stay tuned. All I'll say is on that. But we got something that's going to kind of help people that have that question.
All right. The next question I saw, it was kind of more of a general question, and it's coming from KM Conducting 1. It says, Are the red meter levels on the returns or masters a problem? How much headroom is there? Is the red just a warning?
Yeah, it's just like anything else. That's just your zero. It lets you know that it's above zero, and it can be looked at upon as a warning, and it really depends upon how your setup is. My motto is because there's a lot of headroom in Ableton. I will say that. And it depends on your tracks and how they're recorded, and I can kind of tell you that the tracks that we record are pretty much pretty pristine, and you won't have to worry about a lot of distortion or anything like that. But my rule of thumb is this: if it sounds distorted, then you need to back off of it, of course. Back off of everything, turn everything down. But if you're not hearing any distortion, it doesn't sound like the bass doesn't sound distorted or the track doesn't sound distorted, then you can, a little red is okay. I know that may be like, bleeding ears to somebody, that says no red, no red. But you can gain stage things. Another way you can, and I think my mic is going right. You can gain stage some things to keep that from happening. I'm gonna try to troubleshoot what's going on with my mic, guys. You find the next question.
I got another question. by Clifton. He says, "Is this only for important audio wave files?" Yeah, because everything that we offer on the site is in wave format. They are actually in stem format, just as John just explained. So yeah, this whole tutorial webinar thing was just going through some of the things on inside of Ableton Live using those wave files and how he was using the APC to go from different sections. So yeah, it's definitely wave files.
Okay. Yeah. I'm still trying to figure out what's going on with my mic here. I'm gonna switch some things here um, inside of my settings. So
I guess the next question, it came from Kyron Walker. In-ear monitors are best. I guess he's asking, are the in-ear monitors best, but not affordable? He says, well, I guess he was replying to someone else. That's my bad. It's not really a question. I guess he was telling someone else that.
yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure what's going on with my mic.
I will add this. Young lady, I guess Ashley Lopez says, I'm new to all this. At my church, we do not have any musicians, so we rely on tracks. Can you go over how to save a song once it's edited and then getting back to it for another service?
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I don't know what happened with my mic there, but she said, can you go over how to
save once it's edited and then getting back to it for another service?
Okay, that's good. That's good. Yeah, what I like to do is I save it. Of course, you jump here, and just like anything else, any other program, you can save it. So we'll save live set, and that's saved. And Ableton is very quick when it comes to opening up. And I'm working with intro. We're going to do some other videos once we get standard. We're going to be doing some stuff with standard here pretty soon, showing some of the advanced things you can do, because you can actually create an ultimate template where you don't have to you can have all of your songs in one session. But if you're, just getting into Ableton and you're using intro like we're using in this particular webinar, you could easily, just save it like I did and open your set, because it shows your recently open sets here. And I've done this in service quite a bit of times, just kind of switching things real quick. So I can go here and hit Happy by Tasha Cobbs really quick. And it only takes like a couple of seconds, and then I can press play. And I'm ready to go. Now Happy is playing, and I can go through all of those sections. So let's say that song ends and you're ready to get back to the next song, which is like Love You Forever. Open recent set, Love You Forever, and a couple of seconds, and boom, you're there, and you can press play. So it's just that, that quick when it comes to switching sets or what have you live.
I got one from Sydney. The question was, do you play over top of the key clips or just muted if you are playing keys? And I'm not a keyboard player, but I would happen to think that you can do both. You can play on top of it, or you can mute it. It really depends on you. If you're playing on top of it, it's because you're adding extra flavor as you go,
right,
making it thick.
It's a personal preference, and it depends on the songs. I mean, there are certain songs, where you may want to have that extra set of keys in there, and you may want to layer it and blend it and play along with it, and that's what we call texture, to kind of add another depth to it, and you play along with it. I've done it, for instance, with we have a multi-track for Fill Me Up by Tasha Cobbs. So what I'll do is I'll bring the keys down really low, but enough where you can hear it, and then I'll blend it in, and I play along with it. You play the track verbatim, of course, but you play along with it for texture and added depth. So that's kind of a way of using the keys while they're in there. But more often than not, I mute the keys and I just play keys, myself, or mute whatever I don't need. Of course, if my drummer, if I'm playing with my drummer, then I don't even bring the drums into the session. I don't even bring the keys into the session. Most of the time, I bring only in what I need for that particular worship set or what have you.
Yep. Yeah. I saw this question a little earlier in the feed. It's coming from Robert, and it's basically asking, could we discuss, John? Maybe you can do this a little bit better, because can you basically discuss sins 1 and 2, because it has me slightly confused. How does that interact with the interface?
How does that interact? Okay, your scenes 1 and 2, what they're gonna do, yeah, because 1 right here is your left out on your interface, and 2 is your right out. Your right, let's say if you just have a basic 2-channel interface, 1 is gonna be left, and I hope you guys can hear me because I can hear a little static and feedback. But 2 is going to be right, your right output or what have you. And you're going to, and so you would run those out. So everything you're sending from your sends here, like I showed in the demonstration, everything that you're sending from bass, whether it's your bass, your click track, your keys or what have you, that you're sending into the drummer or the sends 1, is going to go out that left output on your interface, or out the left side of the stereo field. And everything that you send out to the house or to the second to be here is going to go out to your sound system. So that's kind of a way of splitting your audio signal. That's basically all you're doing. Hope that kind of makes sense. We're just splitting up the signal and sending it in 2 different directions. If I wanted to, I could move all of these and put everything in both mix if I wanted to. But it's basically just crafting your mix and giving you a little bit more control over what's heard. Because like I said, some drummers may say, hey man, I don't want all of that in my ear. I don't want the click I don't want the keys in my ear. Just give me the click track and I'll just play to that, and I can hear everything else. And then there's some guys that may say, hey, I want to hear a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Take some of those, take some of the bass out of my, ears. Give me a little bit more click track. It just gives you a little bit more control over how things are routed. Of course, if you have more outputs on your interface, then you can use more outputs. Say you may want to, do a 4 output thing and send something to the bass guitar player. Send another output that you have on your interface to your organ player, and then you take one, and then another one goes out to the house. So everybody's got ears that they can hear what's going on, their own mix that you set up in here. And then you can set up a talkback mic. You can create an audio channel and plug your mic to your audio interface, and then open up a channel here inside of Ableton for that talkback, and then just route that talkback to this secondary mix that's going to the band. So it's just a lot of other options that you can use. Hope that makes sense.
I got another one from Thomas. He says, can I use your products with M Audio or Avid software? Yes, absolutely. You can use these because the stems that we provide in this wave, like I said earlier, so you can use this with any DAW, Logic, Reason, Ableton Live, as we are talking about now, and you can use any interface. As long as the interface supports the DAW that you're using, you can definitely use it.
Yeah, and the same with and if you in Thomas, I don't know, maybe you may be talking about if you're talking about the software, yes, absolutely. And same thing goes as well if you're talking about MIDI control. I don't know if that may be what you're talking about as well, because I know M Audio and Avid and them, they make different keyboards, MIDI keyboards, and different MIDI controllers. But yes, anything that's MIDI will connect inside of Ableton, and you can program it to do anything here inside of this set. Anything that's blue can be mapped to MIDI, to a keyboard controller, to a pad, a Chord Nano pad, a Chord Nano control. There's hundreds of controllers on the market that you can use to kind of interact with this software. You don't have to have an APC. They're just set up to work better with Ableton, but you can use any interface with Ableton or any MIDI control surface with Ableton. We'll take a couple more questions, and then we're going to try to get to the giveaways and all of that, so we don't prolong the time, so to speak.
Okay, I got another really good question, because I've actually thought about doing this myself from time to time. But can I well, it comes from Kevin the Master. Can I possibly send an output from an interface to a bass amp if there is no bass player around?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. You can run a channel from out of that, because even with these audio channels, even though I did the sends, you can do the same thing with the sends. You can do them here on the actual audio channel. So if I go over here to my bass channel, which is right here, I have an audio too. Right now it's set to go to master, which is going to play out of the master output, this master section. But I could go external out, and if I have a multi-channel interface, say if I have like a 4-channel interface and there's a 4 down here, I can move it down to 4 and select that channel, that output channel on my interface, and run a line from out of that interface into that bass amp, and then tweak it, and it can sound more like a bass player playing there.
Exactly.
I got this was a pretty good one. Wesley says, how do you avoid the audio from dropping during service? For example, some songs have more than 20 stems and could be a little bit too much for my Mac to handle. My suggestion would be to use an external hard drive, but if that's not the case, you're not able to do that, because I know John, in his setup, he can't afford extra USB. So if that's your case as well, I'll say if you're running stuff like this in service, try your best cleaning up your Mac, freeing it from other heavy files like movies, music, and other things like that, because you need to.
Right.
Yeah, any kind of video, man, get that off there if you don't need it.
Right. Anything like that. Make sure your desktop is clean, especially if you're on a Mac.
Right.
The desktop is Finder. What it does is it renders like the full file, so you can press, play it, on them, or view them by pressing the space bar. And what that does is it actually eats into your CPU and your RAM. So that's kind of one thing I learned, keep that off. And I've seen people that have ran stems and ran things off of the external hard drive. Secondly, you want to make sure that you got a decent internal drive if you're running everything off the internal. I always suggest that you don't have to get an SSD, but that's optimum because SSDs are expensive. But you can get a drive that is maybe 7,200 RPM. At least that, and that's going to handle audio a whole lot better than the stock drives that come inside of the MacBooks and the PCs and things like that, because those are just kind of like really not set up and made for audio. But that's kind of like the thing. We'll take one more question. Let's find a good one, and then we'll move on to the next thing, which we're going to get these giveaways and get out of
If I
there.
could say this right quick, I'm just looking at some of these questions, and I know a lot of them are being addressed in some of the videos that we make available on our GMT YouTube channel as well. So if you guys feel free to subscribe to the Gospel Multitrack GMT YouTube channel, and a lot of these questions are answered in some of the videos, and we still do them.
I was gonna make that same plug. Yeah, if you can go over to our YouTube channel, this is Loop Community's channel. Loop Community is our parent company, so we do a lot of stuff with them. But you can go over to our personal YouTube channel, Gospel Multitracks, and I upload a video at least once a week, if not every week, is every other week, and it's dealing with Ableton. It's dealing with headphone mixing. It's dealing with a whole ton of other things that it's just a resource that you can have. So kind of jump on over there, subscribe, because we have a whole running series on using Multitracks Live. We talk about not just Ableton, but we talk about Reaper and Studio One and Logic and all of these other, wonderful programs that you can use to run tracks live outside of Ableton. So you can check that out over there on that resource, because it's a good resource that you can have. And any other questions that you might have, you can feel free to email Loop Community Support. I think it's support@loopcommunity.com. You can email those questions, and then after the show, and we will attempt to respond back to you like that. And feel free to hit me up on Facebook as well. I'm usually pretty quick about getting questions answered. Look me up on Facebook, John Mike. We also have a group we just started. It is gospelmultitracks.com. If you type that in on Facebook, you'll see our group. We've got about close to 6,000 people that have joined our group just in the last, not even a month. I mean, the last couple of weeks, we've grown to about almost 6,000 musicians, producers, and singers. And it's just another resource where you can come in and ask questions. We answer questions. I'm usually, I got my phone in my hand pretty much all different during the day. JD, KJ, same way. We get a notification from the group. We typically jump in and look at it. And then there's a whole plethora of other musicians and people that are real comfortable with using tracks live and stuff. And if one of us don't answer, then somebody from out of the community will gladly answer your question. So we're plugging those resources that you can utilize. Hit us up in our group, join our group, see our our YouTube channel, because we got a ton of stuff on there. All right. So let's kind of move on here. I know we got a lot of questions. A lot of questions that we got that come in, and we'll, like I said, just email those or send those, and we're going to move on to the next phase, which is giving away some stuff. We want to give away some stuff. So the first thing we're going to do is give away a free copy of Ableton Live intro, and this is how we're going to do this. I think last time I did I did something like, the number that was in my head. This time I'm going to make it a little bit more interesting. I'm going to have you guys guess. I want you guys to guess what the date was. The date, like, I'm just going to give a random date, like January, the 3rd. It's not January the 3rd, though. That I met my wife. The date that I met my wife. Type it in, and I'm going to give you guys about a minute or so. If somebody guesses it, right on, we're going to go ahead and give it to them. But if not, I'm going to give it to the person that gets the closest. The date that I met my wife. The date that I met her. When we met. Take a big stab in the dark. Waiting on these to come on in here.
Yep. That's definitely a big stab in the dark. Wow.
Some said March 19.
Nope.
March 7th.
What day is it?
May 17th. July 27th.
Nope.
February 14th.
Nope. Yeah, you do more than one date.
January
1987.
January 28th. July 31st.
Nope.
April 7th. June 17th. July 26th. October 19th.
You can guess as many times as you want, bro.
June 26th.
Okay, we're gonna give you guys. Y'all still haven't got it yet. Okay. Let's see one that's close. I'm not gonna say which one it is. I'm gonna give it. We're gonna count the I'm gonna count the 10 here and whatever the closest one. Um, one October 21st is actually the day I married my wife, but that's not it. Um, 2, 3, and time is up. Okay, the person who got the closest, the date was actually December the 13th, and the person that got the closest was Kevin the Master. He said December the 4th. Somebody else said December the 25th, but December the 4th is actually closer to that, if I'm correct, guys, right?
I mean, yeah, I guess.
Yeah, within the time that I saw it, yeah, December the 4th. We're going to give it to Kevin the Master. I think somebody said December the 12th, but that was after I saw it, and I still see him rolling in. But
Wesley said you're not married.
yeah, somebody said every day is like the first day. I know, right? You're not married. Somebody's checking my Facebook. Yeah, but December the 13th was the date, and Kevin the Master got that. He got closest to it before we ended the countdown. Um, Daniel Duncan, I saw you say December the 12th, but it came in after the fact that we ended the countdown. So Kevin the Master, what you're going to need to do is contact support at Loop Community and let them know that you win. That way we can have your email, and then we're going to email you the code back. All right, we're going to email you the code back so you can download your free copy of Ableton Live Intro and install it and enter in this serial and have it all like that. All right. Now,
hey, congrats, Kevin. Congrats
to Kevin the Master. You're the master right now. All right. So for everybody else, we have consolation prizes for you guys. You still get Ableton for 50% off. Ableton Live Intro costs $99, but you can get it with this code we're going to give you for 50% off for only $49. And I think this code is only going to be available for the next maybe 24 hours. We'll check with Loop Community. I think they'll send me a message here in a second and let me know. But yeah, you can get it for 50% off at $49. And the code for that, this is what you want to take down, is Ableton GMT. Ableton GMT. Type in the word A when you're checking out. You go to Loop Community's website. Got to go to Loop Community's website and check out. Add Ableton Intro to your cart. You'll see it'll be on there for $99. And when you go through checkout, enter in the coupon code Ableton GMT, and it will take 50% off of your cart, and you can get Ableton Intro for only $49. All right. Now, the last thing we're going to give out is to you guys as well that didn't win. You still get a free coupon code to download a free multi-track from our website. You go to the website gospelmultitracks.com and you find a song that you want to download the stems to, and download the stems. Well, put them in the cart and then add them to the cart, and then what you're going to do is go to your coupon code and enter in this code free GMT 123. Okay, free GMT 123. Free GMT 123. That is the free code for a free multi-track of your choice from our site. And we thank you guys for everything. You guys just come out and watching, and there will be a restream if you missed some of this. There will be a restream that will be available shortly after we end this broadcast, and you guys will be able to go back and watch whatever it is that you missed, or you can go back and watch it, a day from now, a week from now, a month from now. But the codes are only going to be valid, I believe, for the next 24 hours, I believe. Well, no, our code for gospel for the free track, it's only for the first 200 people. Only for the first 200 people that use that code. After we hit 200, that code will no longer be valid. Okay, so if you're gonna use it, you got to use it before we get to 200, and you're not gonna be able to know when we hit 200 because we could hit 200 before this webinar ends. So I suggest if you're gonna get it, go get it now. All right. So we've enjoyed it. Hit us with your questions. Not studio at Loop Community, support at loopcommunity.com. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Join our Facebook group, like our Facebook page, all of that good stuff like that. Follow us on Periscope. We were gonna try to stream live via Periscope, but we just had a couple of technical difficulties on the front end that kept us from trying to do both. So we wanted to give a good experience, so we decided not to do Periscope, because we wanted to make sure that we gave you guys the best experience. But join us on Periscope because we're going to be streaming some of our sessions and stuff live if you can. All right, we've enjoyed it, you guys, and we'll holler at you guys next time.
All right.
Peace out.